Welcome to the Designated Drinker Show, the podcast that is raising the bar on craft cocktails. I am your host, Louise Solis, and with me is my very, very talented friend who has got me pickled more than once, more than I can count, the mixtress, DC Gina.
Hi, Louise.
Hi, lovely.
I mean, pickled. That's a new term for being sloth.
You like it? Kind of matches the background. You got a lot of green going on.
I'm camouflaged today.
There you go.
I'm in cocktail camouflage. If I hide myself with glasses and a green shirt, you'll never know I'm here.
Well, don't stand still then, because the last thing I want to do is lose you.
Oh, that was very nice.
I drink a lot.
Yeah.
So we all know, Gina, you're kind of a big deal. Here we go. We're keeping this pickle thing going. Did you know that the New York Food Museum, yes, the New York Food Museum, has, according to them, the practice of pickling is very ancient. And archaeologists say that the evidence actually goes all the way back to the Mesopotamians during in 2400 BC.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's a long time to pickle. I don't know if I want to eat that pickle, but hey. So if you jump ahead with me about 2,000 years, give or take, to the 14th century BC, Aristotle is actually noted praising the healing powers of the cured cucumber. Gotta say that in a cool voice because it's a cucumber.
We have to get you sound effects.
Janice, can you help me with that? So Now let's jump ahead another 350 years, give or take, to 27 BC. And the Roman emperors, yes, they fed pickles to their troops because they believed it gave them physical and spiritual strength. And then we're just going to keep moving forward on this little pickle journey to 16th century England. And Queen Elizabeth apparently expressed a great love for the humble pickle. That sounds a little odd out of context, but apparently she did. And the term "in a pickle" is actually found in Shakespeare's The Tempest. So we're going to keep going. Got one more for you. And we're going to go about 300 years to Napoleon. And he apparently drank the Romans' pickling brine because he too believed it kept his army strong.
Well, I mean,
what do you think about all that pickle knowledge?
I think that's amazing. And then you could jump to last year when the pickleback became the hot shot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did some of those at Tails.
Pickle juice.
Yeah, we did a couple. Yeah, we did.
Speaking of hot shots, I'm in.
Okay, so speaking of hot shots, let's talk about today's designated drinker, shall we?
Yes.
She is cookbook author, food writer, and the founder of Domenica Cooks, Domenica Marchetti. Welcome to the show, Domenica.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, since you're such a big deal, just like Gina.
I mean,
look, we Italians love our pickles, right? We love our pickled things.
Apparently, with the Romans and their strong pickles.
Yeah.
That seemed wrong altogether. I think I'm going to not say that again.
I don't know. We can have a different kind of show with that's fine. Domenica will be into it.
Yeah.
We'll have a couple of shots of gin and then we'll just move on.
There you go.
All right.
So, Domenica, like I said, you're an author. You've written 7 cookbooks.
Yes.
But to make all of this make sense, I want to jump right in and talk about your cookbook, Preserving Italy, Canning, Curing, Infusing, and Bottling Italian Flavors and Traditions. That's a mouthful. Let's talk about that, shall we?
Yeah.
Cool.
What would you like to know?
I would like to know everything about it. What was the inspiration behind said cookbook?
There it is.
There it is.
My 7th baby, non-human baby. Anyway, more books than children, thankfully.
You would be a very busy woman.
So I've sort of approached writing about Italian food as kind of in a single subject way. So I had written about pasta. I had written about Italian vegetables. I had written a little book on biscotti. And so I was kind of looking for my next project. And it actually dovetailed with this separate thing I was trying to do, which was recreate a recipe from my grandmother's. And she had these wonderful amarene sotto spirito, which means cherries preserved in alcohol. So there are these lovely little dark sour cherries that grow in Italy. And in Abruzzo, the region my family's from, what they do is they dry them out in the sun, and then they mix them with sugar and preserve them with brandy and alcohol. And I just had such fun memories of those wonderful cherries. When my grandmother passed away, she had not written down the recipe. So I really wanted to recreate it. And when she passed away, there were still a few bottles of these cherries in the pantry, and my mom and her sisters were very parsimonious about doling out these cherries to my sister and me. And the only time we could get them is if we had really bad cramps, or said we had really bad cramps. So, because, of course, booze is a cure-all, right? And so,
exactly.
Anyway, at a certain point, I just thought, I really want to recreate these cherries. And so I did that using sour cherries that I could find around here. And that kind of just set me down a rabbit hole into looking at other Italian preserving traditions and other ingredients. I mean, preserving is such a big tradition in Italy, and it still is, because anywhere there's like a little patch of grass or land, somebody is growing something on it. And so Italians are gardeners, and they grow things, and at the end of the season they preserve those things. And so the more I dug into this subject, the more I found to write about.
That's amazing. That's really cool. So did you recreate those cherries? Can I find them in?
I did. They're in the book, and I can't tell you what page they're on, but they definitely are in the book, along with some other boozy recipes. I have grapes preserved in grappa. I have recipes for limoncello and crema di limoncello, which is limoncello with cream. Coffee liqueur nocino, which is green walnut liqueur. I'm sure Gina is familiar.
My favorite.
Yeah.
Put it on top of ice cream.
Yes.
Like a little shot of espresso,
So
like an
good.
affogato. So good.
Yeah. But the book deals with everything from preserves in vinegar to preserves in oil. Italians have really love preserving things in oil, like zucchini, eggplant, artichokes, all those wonderful vegetables. And then I've got jams and marmalades and condiments and confections. Because sugar, of course, is also a preservative. So anything that you can preserve, pretty much, I did it or tried.
Well, we thought it was apropos to bring you on now, obviously, to be a part of the show. All of our listeners going through COVID with the rest of us.
Yes.
Planting their gardens. Gina, how's your garden going?
So my garden, we just had a frost here in DC like a week ago, which was crazy. So we were outside taking plastic and covering our garden, and my fig tree started to put their little blooms on. So we covered the trees so they wouldn't get frosty, because I live out in Maryland. So where the city didn't get the actual frost, we did. So I'm sitting there, and my husband's like, what are we doing right now? I'm like, we're going to wrap up the fig trees. He's like, why? I'm like, because we're going to lose all the buds and we won't get everything. And then we're just going to get a September harvest, and it's not going to be good. And he's like,
so I have a question about that, because I have a little fig tree too, and it's been so prolific over the years. And I had little baby figs all over it, and they're now gone.
Because it got too cold.
So I'm hoping that I get a second crop. But
so you'll get it. So it'll get hot again, obviously, and you'll get a September.
It's so cold.
Yeah, you'll get a September yield. It'll come back. It'll push more fruit, but you're gonna get like less fruit. And then at this point, how big is your tree? Is it like 3 feet, 4 feet? How many feet?
Yeah, it's taller than I am, so it's over 5 feet tall, and it's in a good location. It does really well. One year, some years ago, we had a really bad winter, and I know a lot of fig trees died. And I cut this thing back to the ground, so it's now like more of a bush than a tree, but it still produces. So I'm hoping that it'll produce for me.
You can feed it I give my fig trees, like I really try to like nurture them a lot. So we have a lot of eggshells here. Obviously I own a breakfast place. So I'll take the eggshells, I'll dry them out, and I grind them down to almost like a powder, and I just put it around the base of the fig tree. And
Great.
yeah, I'm like super crazy. And
We eat a lot of eggs, so I will do
you
that.
got to let them dry. Don't just throw them
Okay.
outside because it doesn't work that way. You got to let them dry, and then take like your coffee grinder or a food mill or whatever you have, and you make it into a powder, and you just kind of like just sprinkle it in your garden, and it's just
Cool.
really good for the fig tree. Same way like you give coffee grinds to roses. You know,
Yeah.
the acidic makes the roses smell better. It's kind of a thing, right?
That's
Yeah,
cool.
well, I'll share this with my daughter, who actually did plant a vegetable garden in our backyard, and she actually did cover her plants a couple of weeks ago, so she managed to save that. But I call my garden the garden of neglect, because if anything blooms, it's blooming no thanks to me, or growing no thanks to me.
In
Yeah,
spite of you, you sound
yeah,
like me.
exactly,
I
exactly.
did get inspired though after like we chatted with you briefly before. And like I never grow okra. I don't usually grow okra because it's a pain in my butt. And now I'm gonna pickle it and do the whole thing. So
Good.
I was like, oh, maybe I'll do something. And then like I'm like, all right, we'll do the pickled okra. So I'm growing red okra.
Ooh, that's pretty too.
Yeah, I planted like 2 rows of it. So we'll see,
Nice.
how much we get out of it. It'll be enough for like, I don't know, 6 or 7 quarts or so. But
Yeah.
like that was something I did not plan on doing. But after our little conversation, I was like, nah, I mean,
You
I'll
got to improvise, right? You have to be.
yeah, well, I was thinking about the pickles, and I was like, well,
Yeah.
this could be fun, and do the Italian twist on something that's very southern because I live here in,
Yeah.
Maryland. Whatever, we'll figure it out
Yeah.
for fun. So you
Cool.
inspired me.
Well, thank you.
Nice.
I'm glad to
Nice.
hear
Yeah, I
it.
like that.
So,
All right,
Gina,
sorry.
when is ramp season?
You missed it.
Okay. The only reason I bring this up is Domenica, one of my favorite like pickled anything I've ever had. Gina and I were working on a project, and she was making these beautiful dirty martinis, and she was using these pickled ramps.
I mean, I have some.
And they were like this beautiful purple color. And I was drinking all the outtakes.
We did.
Let's just say I wasn't on camera. I was behind the camera, but I was just a little tipsy on that one.
Well, so many pickles are beautiful, I have to say. And ramps, a nice jar of those really pretty little roots and stems, and they do have that pinkish cast to them. They're really lovely. Now, that's not in the book, but I have pickled ramps before, and they're so delicious. But little jars of pickled artichokes, and
Do you have the Cipollini onions in your book? Like
I do. I have sweet and sour Cipollina onions, and they're pickled with a little bit of orange peel and balsamic vinegar, and those are so good.
Like, did you use white balsamic or did you use a dark balsamic?
I used white, but you could use dark. I mean, it obviously changes the color, but
No, I agree with the white. I'm just wondering which one you used.
Yeah.
I would
So
love
what are
that
these?
idea.
What are these little things?
Those little flat onions, they're called Cipollina onions.
Oh.
So they're kind of squat. They look like little saucers, but they're great for pickling and
martinis.
And they're good and like in an antipasto platter too. So really good with some pungent cheese and that little sweet and sour onion on the side is such a nice combination.
Nice.
Well, that's a fun one. We should you should buy the book. Everyone's listening should buy your book. And then we'll play
one more time, just in case you didn't get it. Here it is. It's Preserving Italy.
I love that.
I feel like Vanna.
What?
I feel like Vanna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm look. The cover has also one of my other favorite recipes from the book is sweet and sour grilled peppers. So you grill or broil peppers, and you know how you get the skin all charred, and then you peel them, so you've got kind of this smoky flavor, and you put them in a sweet and sour brine with sugar and vinegar, and then a little bit of garlic and capers and parsley. and you let the peppers sit in that brine, and then you drain them and you pack them in jars with olive oil and then just pop them in your fridge. And they are so good. I always have a jar of those peppers in my fridge. And, they're great on pizza. They're great tossed with pasta. They're good on salads and sandwiches. So that's the wonderful thing about preserving is, like even if the season is over, you've still got these wonderful vegetables in your pantry or in your fridge.
What do you give? So, you have a lot of people that are, just like twofers that are listening to the show or singles. Give us like one thing that if you were going to buy your book, what are you going to make out of your book for somebody that just might be a couple or a single person that you like must have?
Okay, well, I mean, those peppers are one thing. One of my favorite pasta recipes in the book is this lemon spaghettini al limone. And so one of the preserving element of it is olive oil that's been infused with lemon peel. And you can just sort of, let it steep and then use it for any number of things on salad, whatever. But I love this spaghetti, and I make it often. So it's the lemon olive oil, a little bit of cream, and that's basically you toss it with pasta with lots of Parmesan and a little bit of basil or parsley, and it's such an easy thing to make. So I really like to do recipes that are accommodating and that are accessible. I do like complicated recipes too, but I do like, I don't want to intimidate anybody. So I try to write books that have a little bit of something for everybody. You start out simple and then you can kind of, work your way.
I turned right to the page. Look at that.
Yeah. Which one is that?
This is the lemon olive oil.
Oh, the lemon olive oil. Yeah. And then there you can make homemade ricotta. There's a recipe for homemade ricotta in the book that is so easy. All you need is good milk and buttermilk, and you can make your own ricotta, and then you can use that to make ricotta gnocchi. So if you're trying to learn a little bit about Italian cooking and Italian food traditions, that's a nice way to go.
I love that. See, that's like the one thing I always like. A lot of people have a big problem with cookbooks is that everything's like yields 4, 6 people servings, and then you're like home alone. You're like, okay, I'll make 40 portions. I don't know.
Yeah, no. And the nice thing about preserves, though, is once you've made them, and these, I would consider most of the recipes in this book small batch preserves. There's nothing that's going to make like 50 quarts or whatever. So, because I don't have a huge pantry, and my kids, one's home temporarily, but they're off in college, and so there's 2 of us at home most of the time. But the nice thing about preserves is you put them up and then you can use as much or as little as you want, and you always have more for next time. So they're a good thing to have around, whether you have a lot of people or if just, one yourself or whatever. Those roasted peppers I was telling you about, fry an egg, in some of those peppers, and that's one of my favorite solo meals.
Oh, I love that. Maybe we'll have a dedication breakfast sandwich for you.
Oh, that sounds good.
I mean, I have no problem. The Domenica sounds perfect for me.
I love a good breakfast sandwich.
For me, it comes on like an oregano, dried oregano, basil, a little bit of like roasted tomatoes. I don't know.
Nice.
I hear it. I feel it. I can see like all the wheels turning.
I can hear it. It's a little squeaky, but I hear it.
I feel like it's time for a cocktail.
Let's do it.
And now that I have a spoon, I can touch my camera, so it's kind of like becoming the same thing for me.
I have one of those too. My husband put out some tools for me. He's the drink mixer in the house, but he's working right now. So
did you you ever saw The Price is Right?
Yes.
With Bob Barker had that little microphone in the 70s. And he's like, and what was yours? Like $1. $1. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So who knew? Come on down, right? Anyway.
So Gina, where are we coming down to?
We're coming down to Buffalo and Burgundy, Capitol Hill.
There you go.
Sorry, I think it's time I need a drink. I think we're in the afternoon. It's time for a cocktail.
Let's do it.
Cocktail time.
Yes, it is.
All right. So we are going to. I'm gonna move my camera down here a little. So I have a stirring glass. You can use a pint glass, any sort of vessel, plastic cup, quart container, whatever you got at home. Anything's acceptable. And we are going to take 1 ounce of gin. Now, my recipe calls for 1 ounce and a quarter because that's what I like to put in to this cocktail. I just like a little bit more gin on it. So you're gonna do 1 1/4 ounces. If you want to do like me, if you want to keep it a little bit lighter, then do 1 ounce.
Okay.
And then we're gonna do 1 ounce of Campari.
1 ounce of Campari. That's right up my alley.
Which is really quite lovely. So this is where everyone's gonna veer off a little bit. So Louise has a celery bitter simple syrup, which we'll put the recipe on designateddrinker.show. And she's making a very easy at-home version of a bittering syrup. And Domenica has rhubarb syrup, which she made. And rhubarb is extremely bitter in its own nature. So we are going to, so we're making a Negroni-esque kind of drink. We're going to take 1/2 ounce of the rhubarb syrup or your celery syrup. And I'm using celery. And then you're going to take 1/2 ounce of red vermouth. And I believe that Domenica is using Punta Mas. And we're going to use Dolan vermouth here. Yikes, everybody. Whoa. Okay.
Sounds like you need a drink, Gina.
Sounds like I need something. I don't know. It's a long morning in the baking world, I'll tell you. Anyway, so we're going to fill our stirring glass up 3/4, a little bit more than 3/4 of a way. And so the temperature where we are right now is about 68 degrees in here. So this is about 30 rotations. If you keep your house at a comfortable 79 degrees, you're gonna need to stir this at about 45 rotations, because what you want to do is you want to get it so it has a nice chill on it.
Okay.
Now, you can make the choice how to serve your drink at this point. You can serve it on a rock. You can serve it up if you'd like. I am going to serve mine on the rocks. And I'm almost there.
I think I'll serve mine up or neat or whatever you guys call it.
Sure. Let's do it. Are we gonna go up, or you guys want to go up? Or I'm gonna go rocks. You guys go up and I'll go rocks. And this is definitely appropriate when going to a bar to ask for your Negroni either on the rocks or up. But if you don't ask for it any particular way, it will come to you on the rocks.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. So don't be surprised. So now, got our glass. We can all see it. Yes. And we are going to strain our cocktail in.
Ooh.
And, you know, there are so many different uses for tops of things, or, you know, carrots, celery tops, whatever you like, cilantro. So kind of like, you know, I like to use celery stalks or whatever you have left, or whatever is in there if you have rhubarb left over. But one thing I do like with rhubarb or this is you put the orange in always, and you don't have to keep it in there. You take it, throw it out. But I mean, for me, I do it for my own look of things.
So that
I'm out of orange peel, but I did.
You could do lemon.
I got some strawberries from the farmer's market today, so I'm gonna put that on the edge of my drink, just so
I love that.
It looks pretty. And strawberry and rhubarb are partners, so they go well together.
Yeah, I'm totally into that.
Ah, yum.
Okay, we're good. Let me see everybody's cocktail now. I'm ready.
It's my cocktail.
Oh, pretty. Hold them up. Let's all hold them up. Oh, very nice.
See?
I love it.
I kept my celery tops.
Oh, it's pretty. I'm into it. All right, let's try it.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Salud.
Cheers. Mm.
Oh,
so
wow.
Ooh.
That's so nice.
It's
really fresh.
What's nice about it is that, like, now you have, like, you're looking in your refrigerator and you're like, oh, what am I going to do? I have all this, you know, wilting celery. I'm going to use it. Or you're going to the farmer's market. Now you're going into rhubarb season. You see all these stocky, you know, items and stuff. And, like, you know, I was thinking about this as we were doing this. Something that might be really good with this also is like fresh juiced bok choy. If you want to do more of an Asian route.
Oh,
and yeah, it's, you know, it's just another chrysalis, right? So
yeah,
basically, you know, just juice that and then add a little bit of salt to it, and you can make like a maybe like a more Asian version of this if you want to be like a little, on the different side of it, and then use like an Asian style gin, like Roku, or like a Japanese gin like Roku, and that could be really lovely.
So let me ask you this, Gina, if you on that bok choy, would you just juice the bok choy, or would you juice it and then make a syrup with it?
No, I would juice it and then marry in a little bit of simple syrup. So I would take the juice and then do equal parts of simple syrup to it. I wouldn't cook it.
Gotcha.
Now, rhubarb I would cook and clarify because that's a pain in the butt.
Well, I only ended up with rhubarb syrup because I roasted some rhubarb for a rhubarb and frangipane tart that I was making. So I roasted the rhubarb, and then you have to drain it. So you end up with all this liquid. And so then I just cooked it down into a syrup. So that's
100%. I love that. And then is everybody in your house, other, because like, I can see you're very like slender. Is everybody else in your house like 500 pounds? Because I would be eating that tart like that.
So that's why you can only see me from here up.
Yeah.
I'm slender from here up.
I mean, this staying at home has been excellent for me buying new jeans. I'm stimulating the economy by buying new pants and lying to myself and saying I can still wear jeans. They're just a whole size bigger.
Oh gosh, lots of baking and cooking going on here. I mean, that's always happening because I work from home, but it's happening like more now.
Well, you have your daughter back home too, yeah.
So like
she likes to bake too. So
there we go.
Yeah,
I feel like that is what it is. But I mean, but having a cookbook author for a mother must be a very interesting process.
It's like having a very close friend who's a master at cocktails. Woo!
Yeah, I guess. I mean, now that the kids are grown, they're both into cooking. In fact, we've been doing Sunday night Zoom sessions. Our son's in Vermont. So on Sunday nights, he and his girlfriend and us here at home, we all get together and cook together on Zoom. And then we finish, when we're done cooking, we have a cocktail together.
Which is lovely. Yeah. What's your cocktail choice for that?
Oh gosh, what did we do recently? We had like a white vermouth tasting last weekend. So
which one won? Who won?
Koki won. Koki, which is
the Americano. Koki Americano. Delicious.
Yeah. So well, I don't know what we'll be doing this weekend, but
did you do the vermouth with like the salts next to it, or did you just do vermouth straight?
We just did vermouth on the rocks with a twist. That was it. That was like my teenage drink too. When I like the sweet vermouth when I was a teenager. In Italy, when I was growing up, there was no drinking age. So when we were at the beach in summer and we'd go to the disco, that was my drink of choice.
So good. I like doing the vermouth, the white vermouth with a little bit of salt, because they have like this like beautiful salinity to it in general.
Yeah.
You just bring out that nature of it, and it becomes like the vermouth forward cocktails are so beautiful.
Nice.
What kind of salt are you using? Would do it? I mean, what would you recommend, Gina? Obviously,
like a cypress salt, like something like a good pyramid salt is like really nice. You want like something like that.
Do you put it in the vermouth then?
Well, I like vermouth and like radishes on the side, and like sip vermouth and like eat like breakfast radishes with like a little bit of salt and butter. It's very good.
Oh, that sounds.
You just drink it as like a an aperitif.
Nice little aperitivo right there.
Yeah. I mean, do you do the radish butter thing? Are you into that?
Yeah.
I love that. So like that's like
the spring radishes, little French breakfast radishes. Yeah.
Perfect.
Really good.
And then right now,
I'm not Italian. What are you doing with these?
It's not Italian. This is most European, really, right?
More French than Italian, right?
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
I lived in Europe, but I never had buttered radishes before.
So it's.
I want to say it's a French thing, and they use that wonderful butter from Brittany.
Oh,
yeah, so good.
There's nothing
better
like
dip it. You have like. Sorry, you have like different. So if you go to the farmer's market right now, where we're all. So if you're listening somewhere else, we are located in Virginia, Maryland, and DC, and you want to like if you go to the farmer's market now, like the little baby radishes are starting to they're available, so you can get all these different flavors, and like it's kind of nice, like in this, especially now that you've been home. Like, how many dinners can you cook?
Yeah.
Like eat some
Right.
radishes for dinner with butter and like just call it a night. I mean, like
Yeah.
you don't have to like put a meal down every night.
No, you put out that nice little bowl of radishes, good butter, good salt, some nice bread, right?
Cipollini onions
Yeah.
from your book.
Yes, your nice.
Available on Amazon. Get on it, people.
Yeah. I always have a big jar of jardiniere in my fridge too. That's in the book. That's the mixed vegetable pickle. So that's always a good thing to have hanging around.
Yeah. That's like
That's a Mr.
staple of my life.
That's a Mr. Solace favorite. Must be from his days in New York, huh, Gina?
Yeah.
100%. Where we grew up and you went to the Italian restaurants or pizza and you got anything, the antipasti always had jardinera.
Yeah.
Always, 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 always.
So Domenica, the crazy thing is my husband and Gina grew up like neighbors, literally
In the
like
same
neighboring-
town.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And Gina went to the same high school as my father-in-law. Obviously in different time frames, but the same high school.
Still, yeah.
Is that crazy or what?
It is so crazy.
And like her husband is the only person I can speak true pizza with. You're like, I can have a conversation with him about pizza, location, streets, who was the pizza maker at the time, and when can you pick it up, and who was working.
And the only other thing is rainbow cookies and what bakery you must go to just to
Wait a minute. Let's back up. Domenica, do you make rainbow cookies?
I do. There's a recipe for rainbow cookies on my website, actually. And I didn't start making them until a couple of years ago when I went to All Purpose, and they have the rainbow cake.
Yeah.
And that was the first time, because I didn't grow up in an Italian neighborhood. So I had that rainbow cake and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. So I looked up rainbow cookies and I learned how to make them, and I make them at Christmas time now. They're really good.
What do you soak your cake? What do you soak your sponge cake in? Do you soak it in anything or no?
What did I do? I think I just put almond in the cake batter and I use the apricot jam. What do you soak yours in?
So I come to where I grew up. There is the ones you got at the bakery, which are done with the almond paste and the flavoring and stuff like that. And then there's the Sicilian way, and they use the whey of the ricotta to soak it. They sweeten the water and then they soak the cookie in it. So the Sicilian cookies are a little bit different color because like the food coloring fades when you add the milk. They're a little bit pinker, that red, but it's almost like you're eating a rainbow cheesecake. I can't describe it.
That is amazing. Okay, I have to look that up because
heaven.
Bet it is. Wow.
So I hear there'd be a difference, Gina. You speak deli, right? Isn't that what you call your Italian? New Yorkers speak deli, but where Domenica speaks Italian.
Yeah, so Domenica speaks Italian, and then New Yorkers speak deli, and they think they speak Italian because they'll be like, "Let me get the mozz with the ricotta," and you're like, "What are you talking about?" So or the parm or the prosciutto. You're like, you just forget like all the words. And you go to Italy and the Italians look at you like, please don't come here anymore. Yeah. They're like, just, what the words are. It's so funny because like you can go to Italy and really navigate like a menu just because you grew up in this country, and Italian food is such a fabric in the U.S. Language.
It really is now, yeah.
But like you could go there and like really, make an ass of yourself when you're ordering the mozz. They'll be like, the mozz. They're like, what are you talking about? So I don't know, but I don't know. There's something about, it's so beautiful. I think everybody should embrace the Italian culture when it comes to cooking and like the family. And
I think it's so universally loved. It really is. And what's not to love it? It's simple. It's based on, what grows near you. It's so regional. It's so varied. That's the thing about Italy. I always thought that by the time I hit middle age, I would have traveled, I don't know, a fair bit of the world. But every time I get the opportunity to travel, I just go back to Italy because, Italy is a small country, but every region is vast to me and deep. And there's just so much there in terms of food and culture. And I know that every time I go back, I discover new to me recipes that, maybe they're old, maybe they're centuries old, but I've never had them before. And I'm still finding things from the Abruzzo region that that I'm not familiar with because they come from another province than the one that my family's from. So that's that's the variety in Italian cooking that I think.
So to the two of you, where are your families from in Italy then?
My family, my mother is from Chieti, which is in Abruzzo. So if you travel east from Rome and hit the Apennine Mountains, that's kind of where Abruzzo starts, and then it goes out to the Adriatic Sea. So it goes out to the coast. So it's a very diverse cuisine because you've got your very hearty mountain cuisine, like pork and lamb and all of that, and then you have the rolling hills where they cultivate grapes for wine and olives for oil. And then you have the coastal seafood. So that's where my mom's family is from. And my dad's side, he's from, his parents were from Isernia in Molise. So that is adjacent to Abruzzo. And then also Lazio, which is the same region that includes Rome. So it's that same sort of central zone. Gotcha. And then my mom's dad was from Perugia in Umbria. So basically that central chunk of the boot is where my roots are. How about you, Gina?
Like the shin spot?
Yeah, right, exactly. The shin and the calf, yeah.
My father was from Trieste, and I'm first generation here. So in 1945, there was the last battle of World War II changed the border of Italy. So where my father actually grew up was a town called Puglia, and it was literally, now it's considered Istria, but at that time it was Italian. So I am Italian, but then after World War II, it changed sides and they added an ICH onto our names, which was like a completely weird thing.
Oh,
so, yeah, the borders
like
changed.
Bastianich, right? Same deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my last name would have been Trisavani Itch if we had stayed, but my family didn't, so it's Trisavani. So the Cherries Mountains come down through northern Italy right there. So really my last name means of the mountain. So that's where my family is from. And then my mother's side of the family is all southern. So my grandmother's from Calabria and my grandfather is from Olivieri in Sicily.
Well, see, that's all great. That's all great food traditions. I mean, north and south, you got the best of both worlds there.
A lot of fighting, but my father was a chef, so it was kind of amazing. Like I grew up, my father cooked Northern Italian food in New York for, close to 50 years. And, I have a different education and people, they'll talk about Italian food and I'll talk about stuffed gnocchi. Like gnocchi to me isn't these little round things. Gnocchi to me are these little half moons stuffed with ricotta and then served with like a rabbit ragu and cinnamon and butter. And then sometimes there's mustard or something with it. And people are like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, it's like northern Italy. There's other parts of Italy.
See, that's what I mean about Italian cuisine. And it's confusing because the same name can mean completely different things depending on the region you're in. But wow, I've not heard of those. They sound amazing.
Yeah, I'll share a recipe with you for that. My grandmother gave my aunt, who's an amazing cook. She makes these. It's basically grappa and ricotta, and then she puts a little bit of fresh prunes, like fresh prunes before they've been preserved, and then she stuffs them in gnocchi, and then she does it with this rabbit that's been shredded with a brown butter sauce and cinnamon, and then you put it in the oven with a little bit of Parmesan cheese right to finish it, so a little bit of Parmesan cheese crisp on top right before you serve it. It's like next level.
That's so interesting. And that sweet and savory, that mix of sweet and savory, is very traditional, kind of almost ancient Italian. I think some of those recipes probably date back to the Renaissance, if not before. Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah. Trieste is like a town that time forgot.
Yeah.
Like you go there and don't be looking for this tour or. And it's a pretty big city, but it's literally super preserved. And there's this book that I love. It's called Trieste, The Meaning of Nowhere, because you're in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And you're so immersed in different food and you have Austria presence in the food, Italian, and then you have the Slavic, and it's all kind of meshed together right there in that region.
Yeah.
And it's like I have a whole different skill set because of it.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
See what I mean? There really isn't any other place to go besides
Do you,
Italy.
Yes,
well,
I
I haven't been
right
to
now.
Trieste. No, I know.
So let me ask you this: how do you have family there still? Then
I don't have much family, but I do have a little bit of family, cousins scattered here and there, and I have a lot of friends and colleagues. One thing I do is I lead culinary tours in Abruzzo and also in Liguria, which is another amazing region. That's the northern Mediterranean coast. So you know how Italy fans out at the top, so that northern Mediterranean coast is Liguria, and that's a completely other food tradition. But so in fact, I'm supposed to be over in Italy right now leading a food writing thing, but that's happening next year now. So yeah, I still travel there often for work and just for fun.
I was just wondering if you had like anyone giving you an update on how they're handling. I mean, Italy got hit really hard with COVID,
Yeah.
and it really did turn the country upside down. And obviously, a country that's so dependent upon tourism, which you're right, it is
Yes,
a
I
very
know.
beautiful
Well,
space.
what's interesting is you're right. Italy is so dependent on tourism, but I think parts of Italy were suffering from over tourism because of the cruise ships and just because of just the massive amount of humanity. And you can't blame anybody for wanting to go to these places because they're extraordinary. So I sort of think of, and I know it's a really tough time, but I have to believe that, Italy is starting to slowly open back up. People are going outside. And to me, I think that this is almost like a gift to the Italians. They've gotten their cities back and their country back temporarily, just to appreciate what they have and to be able to enjoy it for themselves for a little while. And I do hope that when tourism comes back, that maybe it'll be more sustainable. I take very small groups over. We do sustainable tours. We don't do big buses or anything like that. And we take people to places that aren't over traveled. They meet with food artisans, stuff like that. And I really hope that that kind of tourism will take root in Italy, and it's a better way to see Italy, in my opinion.
Yep. So Gina, I hear a traveling designated drinker coming up. I don't know about you, but I definitely hear this. I hear this.
My cousins are in Italy, in northern Italy, and they all got hit pretty hard. And like one of my cousins is a doctor, and she's a pediatrician, and she actually got COVID, and she's well, but her hospital was hit terribly. And I will say one thing that our country can learn from their country, and I think we have embraced a bit, is the sense of community and helping people around you, and like taking 5 seconds to think about the person next door that maybe you've never even spoken to, but they might be like elderly and you can help them.
Yeah.
And my aunt is 87 years old, still lives in Trieste, and she doesn't leave her house because she can't, because she doesn't want to get sick, and she's fine. She's just, she's very spry. She outlived everybody. She outlived my father. I mean, like, she'll be 100 easily. Like, easily. If you met her, you would never think she was even above 70.
Yeah.
Anyway, but my cousin, she survived, and like, they're just a different breed. It's I hope that everybody learned something from this. I hope that we can all take 5 minutes to think about.
For a culture that is so that is so physical and so social, Italians are so social. I think it's been very hard, this distancing. But I really think that the country came together, and everybody did what they had to do to flatten the curve. And I think they're being cautious about opening up and just seeing the way they're proceeding. I think it's something we can kind of aspire to here, for sure.
Let's hope. Let's hope. Yeah, absolutely. So on a brighter note, we're going to make sure that Domenica's cookbooks are on. Where are we going to put that, Gina?
DesignateDrinker.show.
And then you also said you were going to share a recipe.
Yes, I'm going to share a recipe for celery.
No. Your recipe for your father's gnocchi.
No, my aunts.
Your aunts, sorry.
You want me, I mean,
I've been drinking.
I was going to give it to Domenica, I think, but okay, I'll share.
Well, we're going to make sure that those links.
I think Domenica can help me translate it a little bit better than I'll be able to translate.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah.
It's literally written mostly in Italian, and like I understand it just because I've made it. There are other terms in there that I don't even understand how to write.
Right. So
people have something to look forward to.
When this is all over, we'll have to make them together.
There you go. Everyone has something to look forward to. But what we'll do is we'll make sure we have the links to Domenica's her cookbooks, and then that recipe that's on your website that we were talking about earlier.
All right, I have one question.
Yes. It's
okay,
you, Gina.
Domenica, this is the last question of the day. So everybody identifies themselves now as like some sort of spirit animal, and you might identify yourself with the red fire ant because you live in a huge colony and you don't want predators, so you will attack them. If you were to identify yourself as a single ingredient, what would that ingredient be and why?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Gina, next time you should do that with your Bob Barker.
Yeah.
What kind of ingredient are you? I'm going to go with the ingredient that inspired Preserving Italy, and that is a tart cherry because they're a little sour, a little sweet. And we're all a little bit sweet and sour people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of squishy, nice and red, pretty color. But at the center, there's a little pit because we all have to, sometimes we are required to be hard and tough. So I like all those qualities in the tart cherry. So that's my choice. That's my spirit.
I love it. Yeah, it's perfect.
Absolutely. All right, ladies, it was wonderful getting together. We got to do this after COVID so we can all get together, give a good Italian hug, and eat some great Italian food.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Cheers. Cheers.
The Designated Drinker Show is produced by Missing Link, a podcast media company dedicated to connecting people to intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Missing Link is a proud partner of Hearing Charities of America, a nonprofit organization that supports those who are deaf or hard of hearing. To learn more about HCOA or to find out about Missing Link's other podcasts, head over to missinglink.company. That's missinglink.company.